Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition to the resolution for a couple of reasons. If this resolution was like Senator Miller's resolution that established a legislative path for restoration of rights in addition to the governor's path, I'd vote for it. And the difference between this resolution and the one introduced by Senator Lucas was this resolution limits the criteria that the governor can adopt and enshrines that in the Constitution by adding the words, where there are conditions as prescribed by law. So with this resolution today, the General Assembly can undo the progress we have made on making it easier to restore rights for nonviolent felons. Now, why is it so important, and why the change between 2013 and 2016 on whether or not you have to pay fines, fees, and court costs? Because the governor listened to the advocates and the practitioners who for years have been trying to help people restore their rights. And there are a lot of them in my district. And if you look at whose rights were restored in the governor's order in April, the vast majority of them were in Richmond. And a lot of them reached out to me over the years. And the biggest impediment to them getting their rights restored, violent or nonviolent, up until recently, was they can't pay all of the fines, court costs, restitution. And you have to look at what happens once you have the word felony slapped on you. We've had bills trying to deal with this too. You can't get a job because many of the job applications on the cover ask you, have you been convicted of a felony? And for far too many Virginians, when you check yes, your application goes in the trash. If you can't get a job, you're never going to pay your fines. And so we've had too many people convicted of something that happened 30, 40, 50 years ago because of they did something stupid, admittedly wrong, and many of them will admit it, but they've served their time, and despite their best efforts, they haven't been able to pay those fines and court fees. And until this governor removed the requirement for them to pay those fines before they could get their rights restored, they couldn't get them restored. If this resolution passes, a General Assembly next year, 3 years from here, 5 years from now, could prohibit any governor from ever doing that again. And that is why this resolution goes a little bit too far. Again, if it was just a path to say the governor can do it or the legislature can do it, I'd vote for it in a minute. But that's not what this does. And I owe it to all of the people that live in my district, whether they can vote or not, to help them when they have a problem. And I cannot tell you how many of the calls that have come in my office over the past 11 years have been people who have said, I served my time, I made a mistake, I served my time, but I want to become a productive member of society. And one thing stands in their way: paying the court fines. And this enshrines that back in the Constitution and opens the door. It enshrines it in the Constitution for a violent felony that the General Assembly will define at some time in the future. And it opens the door to enshrine it in legislation down the road. And for that reason, I can't vote for this, and I ask you to vote no.